What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Ready to Love Season 5, Episode 6. The episode was titled Second Shot at Love. Okay, I guess if you guys want to say that. But before we get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and you guys are not yet subscribed to the channel, I'm gonna need you guys to do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button, the like button, turn your notifications on, and with that out the way, you guys, stop taking me out on this day. And with that out the way, you guys, without further ado, let's discuss Ready to Love. This season, I will say before we even get into the review, the season is lackluster. It's meh. I can't even remember half of these people's names. So we're gonna get into the review now. All right, you guys, so this week it's time for the men to send home one of the ladies. That's right, yeah. I told you one of the ladies is going home. So we are at the halfway point. That's right, fellas. Y'all made it to the halfway point. I was like, the halfway point? Really? Okay. So this week, Tommy tells the men, so I know you guys got y'all's main connections, right? But what I want y'all to do this week is for y'all to take out a woman that you feel deserves a second chance, baby. Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do, right? So the first people we see go out on a date is Walter and Zadia, right? So I will say that this week the dates were so much better than what we've been seeing. Walter and Zadia, they went out on a date. They went and got a manicure and a pedicure, and I was like, okay, that's cool, that's fun, and that's relaxing. So you can get your manicure and your pedicure, and you can have a conversation with, whoever you're with. You can have a drink, like that's relaxing. Go for a massage, like stuff like that. Though that's a good date instead of going exercising. Like, okay. So Zadia asked Walter, basically she asked him, like, when he thinks about a relationship with a woman, what gets him the most excited? So he tells her what gets him the most excited about a relationship is the fact of, creating traditions and family, which admirable traits. I will point out one thing about Walter, right? He did this triangle, right? It was like mental, physical, and his genitals. So I'm like, so Walter, you're really just thinking about sex, huh? Like when he said genitals, I'm like, you had to throw that joke in there about your genitals. Then he told a story about his wife. Walter, as much as I do like Walter, Walter gives me the vibes of Joel, right? And hear me out. We all know Joel's story, right? That Joel's wife passed away. Walter is doing the same thing, and I just wonder, how do I say this? I'm not saying, his story is not his story, but I'm wondering, is he using this to gain sympathy from the women? That's just a question that I have. If he's not, good for him, but I'm just wondering how much of it is that, right? So then we see Sabrina and Sean. They went on a date, right? Here's an interesting thing about Sabrina. Sabrina is speaking Korean to Sean, but you guys remember in the first episode when Tyrone was talking about the fact that he was stationed in Korea and he started speaking Korean to her, she had no idea what the hell he was saying. But in this episode, you speaking Korean to him. Make it make sense. So the date started out really fun, right? Because, they were having fun with, she asked him, does he know how to use chopsticks? He says no. Even I don't know how to use chopsticks. I've never used chopsticks. So I don't know how they work. She was telling him, they were just having fun with each other, right? So with this show, I think Sean might have a little bit of a difficult time. And the reason why I say I feel Sean might have a difficult time is because of the fact that Sean wants children. And Sabrina's talking about her daughter. Her daughter will be 9 this month. So he asked her, does she want to have more kids? She says no. That's the second woman that he's talked to that he likes that doesn't want kids. Remember, in last week's episode, Aisha told him she didn't want any more kids. And now he's getting another I don't want kids from Sabrina. So I just wonder how far he's going to make it in this show with most of these women having kids and not wanting kids again. But we'll definitely see how far he makes it. We're going to pause here and move forward. I did that, because y'all are like, JB, why did you do that? I have this song that's in my head. If you guys have not listened to the Silk Sonic album, that's why I did that, because Silk Sonic just give you that mood of let me vibe on out. But we're gonna move forward, you guys. I don't even know how I went to that. All right, you guys, so the next date we see is Phil and Aisha, right? When I looked at Phil, I'm like, who is this? But then I'm like, that must be Phil. I get Phil and Dante confused, but not anymore. Not after this episode. I don't know who Phil and Dante are, right? So Phil and Aisha, they're out on a date. So we find out that Aisha, she loves to cook, right? So we actually found out a lot about Aisha in this scene, and it was quite refreshing. So I'm gonna tell you guys who my top two ladies are in this season. My top two ladies are Sabrina and Aisha. Those are my top two ladies. Now, as far as the men, I don't like any of them. Nothing personal, just not big fans of the men. If I were to pick a man, if I had to pick any of these men that were left, who would be in my top? Ugh, that is terrible. I guess I would go with Sean and Walter. Maybe. Let me know who you guys' top picks are, men and women. So, I guess Phil and Aisha have been having conversations with each other, and they have a discussion about kids, right? So, like I said, with Sean, remember last week Aisha told him she didn't want to have any more kids. So I'm guessing Aisha told Phil that there was something deeper there as to why she doesn't want to have kids. And so she tells him that she lost the baby. So I don't know, she didn't specify what happened, if she had a miscarriage or a stillborn or what. So she didn't really preference it, but she lost a child. And then the two kids that she does have now currently, she almost lost them. And the reason why is because she can't carry kids. I was like, oh, that is so sad, right? And she broke down crying. And that's what really, really, really made me like Aisha in this episode. And she doesn't want to come off as a failure. And I just really felt so bad for her. Like, I really felt bad for her, because I know women go through that. If they can't carry children to term, or if they can't get pregnant, they feel less of a woman. And, you shouldn't, right? Because we can't help the cards that we're dealt. So I don't want any woman out there, if you can't carry kids, if you can't have kids, don't feel as if you're a failure. Don't feel as if you're less than a woman, because you're perfect the way you are. And maybe it wasn't in God's plans, or maybe God has other plans for you, right? Like, there are kids out there they need to be adopted. There is in vitro. There are so many other avenues to have kids in this day and age. So don't feel that you're a failure. So then we see an interesting date. Camille and Naeem went out on a date, and I was like, wow, she actually agreed to go on a date with Naeem. We know she's only got eyes for Cornelius. We're going to talk about him later too. So she's talking about the fact that she just thinks that her and Naeem can be friends. And then so her questions were very intrusive. So one question that she asked, I was okay with. How would he react? How would he be with her son, right? He says he wouldn't try to come in and be his dad. He would just come in and be Mr. Naeem, basically, right? So then she asked him about his finances. I'm like, in your interview, you're telling us that you can see him as being a good friend, but right here on this date, you're asking him about his finances. We're going to definitely discuss Camille a little bit later in this episode, because this episode cemented for me the fact that I just do not like Camille. But we're going to pause here and we're going to move forward. All right, you guys. So next up, let's talk about this group date that we have between Dante, Mumin, Frank, and Sabrina. So they do putt-putt golf. It looked like they had a great time. So then we see Frank and Mumin. They have a conversation with each other, right? So we find out that Frank is all about family. I would never have guessed it. Keeping it real, you would have never guessed he was all about his family. Now, I want to talk about Sabrina. Just segue over to Sabrina, right? So when Sabrina was out on her date with Sean, Sabrina was talking about the fact that she saw some red flags from Sean. But on this date with Dante, you don't see any red flags, because I see 3 red flags. Three. And I'm gonna tell you what those 3 red flags are. He has 1 child with 1 woman, 1 child with another woman, and 1 child with another woman. He has 3 kids by 3 different women. But you saw a red flag with Sean and not a red flag with this one. There is nothing wrong with having kids by multiple people. There's nothing wrong with it. If you can take care of them, that's one that, actually we got to get out of that if you can take care of the kids, because it's not even about financial stability. It's not even about being financially stable to take care of the kids. It's emotional as well. Like, I'm pretty sure you get your kids and you have them all together, right? But how do you juggle spending time with 3 kids in 3 different households? Like we talk about Nick Cannon. Like, how do you juggle having relationships with 3 different kids who live in 3 different houses? Your kids are gonna grow up at some point and be like, damn, you spend more time with her than me, and you spend more time with him than me. Like, your kids are gonna feel that at some point. And just saying, buddy. So Sabrina says that her daughter's father has not been in her life, which is terrible. And then we see Mumin and Frank having a conversation, right? So Mumin is spiritual or religious. I don't know which one. I don't know if she ever said. I think she's religious. So she's talking about the fact that she wants to wait to have sex, right? I'm like, this guy right here, Frank, I'm like, I don't see it happening, because Frank is hypersexual. I'm like, yeah. And let's backtrack 1 minute. When Frank and Mumin did that Lady in a Tramp moment, I gagged because it was nasty to me. Disgusting. So, this is no shade at all, right? Absolutely no shade. But I literally forgot about Tasia. So we see Tasia and Sean, they go out on a date, right? I was like, oh shit, I literally forgot about Tasia. So they're on a date and they talk about things, right? So Tasia is religious and spiritual, right? I'm spiritual. I'm not religious these days. I'm more spiritual than I am religious. Sean says he wants to get back into it. He said he grew up Baptist. So did I. I grew up Baptist and then I went Kojic, because I was baptized when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And then my mom and I stopped going to church. And then when I was spending weekends with my grandmother, we would go to her church, and she went to a Kojic church. So I started going there. And then after that, I stopped going to church. Haven't been to church in years at this point, right? So they both discussed that they want children. She says her biological clock is ticking and her mom wants her to have kids. All right, you guys. So we're going to pause here and we're going to actually wrap up the episode. All right, you guys. So let's move over to this date with Cornelius and Courtney, right? So somebody left in the comments last week, why do I think Cornelius is gay? I'm going to get into that. I'm going to tell you guys exactly why I feel that in this review. So Cornelius and Courtney, they're on this date, right? Now, I will say one thing about Courtney. She's completely physical. I mean, if you looked at her the entire date, she had her hands firmly planted on his thighs. I'm like, damn, girl. Like, you lead him with sex. Like, you're leading with him. So they do have a conversation about that, right? About, he wants to wait for sex, right? She doesn't. Very obvious that she doesn't. So, and I'm thinking to myself with Courtney, because he's smiling the entire time. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you don't see that this man is visibly uncomfortable. Like, it's screaming, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable in this situation with you. So now let's talk about the reasons why I think that, because like I said, I want to address why I think he's gay, right? 1, mannerisms. Number 2, think about who his connections are in this show, right? His top connection is that nutcase Camille. Why? The woman is batshit crazy. He did not have a connection with Courtney at all. And then let's just backtrack one little bit, right? So you guys remember that I just told you Mumin. Mumin is very religious and she is saving herself for marriage, right? Those are the same qualities he keeps talking about, but he has no other connections outside of Camille. That's because the man is not straight. Gotta keep it real with you guys. Just gotta be honest with you. He's not. I just think that some of these people came on this show just for a check and just for some fame. But even when you go look at him with Camille, go look at him with his Go look at his interactions with Camille. He is uncomfortable in all of his interactions with the women that he's interested in, especially. I mean, just go back in this episode. Look at him with Courtney. He's completely uncomfortable. He is completely uncomfortable. So I'm confused. How in the hell is Camille still in his number one? So the woman, like, she's crazy. So I've already discussed this. I got ahead of myself but we've already talked about it. All right, so where we at now? So we see Tommy. He's talking to the men. He's asking the men who do they like, who do they not like. The main consensus of who they don't like is Camille and Courtney. They feel that Courtney. See, here's my thing with this is just like last season. They kept homie vibing people, so they feel that Courtney is the homie. Camille, they have no connections with her. She's quite rude. So yeah. So then we see the men. Honestly, I think that they might need to redo this show. Instead of having the men go out on a date with the women, they should have Tommy eliminate. I think that would be better. So Camille is going out with Dante. She's hella rude as soon as she gets there, right? I got class at 7, so we got to wrap this up quick. I would have told her right then and there, well, you know what, we ain't gonna go too much further. Your time is up here. You're not ready to love. Like, I would have said that to her. Get up, like, you ain't ready to love, so you want to come in here and be rude to me? You're not ready to love. I'm sending you home. They didn't want you to go home, but I want you to go because you're rude. So then she's, he told her, he said, the man and I talked and we decided that you are not ready to go home yet. She's like, oh, okay, I thought that's what you had better say, because I'm going to tell you, fuck you. Yeah, in that moment, I would have told Tom, I would have called Tommy like, yo, Tommy. So, Camille, me and her sitting her right. She showed up with an attitude. She talking about she got to be to class at 7 o'clock. Like, they sent you a call sheet. I'm pretty positive they sent you a call sheet letting you know what time you gonna show up to the place and how long you probably gonna have to sit there. So you knew this before time. So yeah, I would have been like, yeah, she talking about she got to be to class at 7. Then I told her she wasn't going home. She's like, yeah, that's what I thought, because I was gonna tell you, fuck you. So yeah, Tommy, at this point, I'm about to tell her she can hit the road, because I'm not gonna sit here and deal with this disrespect. That would have been me. So they ultimately sent home Courtney. I was like, how do y'all send home Courtney over the nutcase? She has no, like, y'all was talking about the fact that Courtney is in a homie situation, but you got this nutcase right here who only has one connection. Okay. That's the review, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Leave your comments in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified when I drop anything else. Share the video. And until the next one, you guys, stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Remember, wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed. And I got you guys in the next one. Bye.